afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a suavelous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence to pay.
Okay, I'm so suavelous, you so suavelous.
Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us.
Divine social interactions remains marvelous.
Mind-blowing, suavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled, Dr. Brother Suave.
Divine light give you double.
Greetings, this is Dr. Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, creator, divine social therapist, and host of Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. Man, this is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday, October 23rd, 2023. This is episode 4 of the 6th season. Man, it is really, really going by. I just thank God for waking me up to see another day I never seen before, another day to get it right, another day tell friends and family members and those I love and respect, I love you. Man, just blessed, you know. It may sound a little stuffy because last couple of days, I think since Saturday, I've been feeling a little bad. And so I was like, okay, Saturday, Sunday, I wasn't feeling too well. So Monday, I just really rested. But I said, you know what? Let me give in. Let me go to my primary. I went to my primary on yesterday. Oh, man. And unfortunately, I was diagnosed with COVID. And so, I'm here, all by myself. So I'm okay. I don't feel as bad as the last time I had COVID. I just don't. But I guess whatever it is, I was diagnosed with it. So, y'all just pray for my health. And like I said, I'm feeling good. I'm just excited about tonight's episode. And listen, it's just so wonderful to complete year 2 of this series, Life After the Gridiron. Because, man, last year we had some great guests, and we were just introducing that as a series on that I do every year on Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. This year, man, it was an even greater year. It consisted of Super Bowl champion Lionel Dalton, Pittsburgh Steeler and UM great Leon Searcy, Hall of Famer, and Miami Dolphin great Larry Little. And tonight I'm going to be having on Atlanta's great Al Richardson. See, Al Richardson is great player, in my opinion. One of the first to come out of Miami Central. And I earlier I promoted he was the first, but somebody corrected, so I stand corrected. I'm not going to say how they tried to embarrass me in front of God. I'm not going to say that person's name, Carlton Wright. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say Carlton Wright. But anyway, thank you, Carlton, for making that correction. I appreciate that. Carlton is one of the great brothers and mentors out this Miami Central alumni. I think he's the president of a mentoring program. But anyway, listen, this brother has done some great things coming out of Central, and he was the second one. The first one was Elvis Peacock. So Al, he plays I think 6 seasons for the Atlanta Falcons. During his time, he received multiple awards, including the 1980 Defensive Rookie of the Year and the PFWA All Rookie Team. This Miami native played for Miami Central High School, the Mighty Rockets, but he also played collegiately for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. He also set a record for the most interceptions recorded by a linebacker. That was 7. He returned that for 139 yards while recovering 3 fumbles. He finished his career with 9 interceptions, 6 fumble recoveries, and 9 sacks. So, without further ado, we're going to bring on the wonderful and talented and Central great Al Richardson.
How you doing, Suave?
Hey, how you doing, Al? What's going on with you? No good.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm blessed and happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to have you. I just think about, man, when we first met,
Yeah.
Yes. And we at Breaking Bread, and I remember that. I don't even remember the restaurant, but I know it was a lot of nice food, man.
It was Raised on the River, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Raised on the River. Yes, man. So thank you, man. Thank you for showing up. So listen, I know I mentioned a few things about you, but if you had to tell a little bit about your own words and how it is to come from Miami, Florida to make it to the NFL, being one of the first coming out of Central to make it to the NFL? Tell me about this experience, coming out of Miami Central. Man, y'all got a lot of winners coming out of there.
back when I played, it was just we weren't a powerhouse like they are now.
Mm-hmm.
We had, like I told you earlier, we had our band was the showpiece. Our band used to be at all the different parades and all, and we had a band director who was from FAMU, and we were known for our band back then, not so much for ball players.
But y'all definitely known for ball players now and winning championships and championships. Just last year, y'all won the state, y'all won the national championship. So y'all known for that. Having great seasons year in and year out.
Yep. Matter of fact, when they won the championship, I forget what year it was. I'm thinking it maybe it was 2015 or something like that. I was down in Orlando to watch that championship game, watch us win that.
Okay. Oh man, so you making sure you still support the old Central Rockets?
Well, when I can,
Yeah.
When I can.
Well, the school is built all over again. You see, it's new now.
I haven't seen the campus itself since I left there. I really haven't visited the campus since I left high school, but I hear there's some things that definitely have happened down there. We didn't even have the stadium. They say they have a stadium on the campus grounds now. We didn't have that. We had plenty of field area, but we didn't have a stadium there.
Well, it's a beautiful school now. It's a beautiful school now. So, tell us about your getting picked up, going from Miami Central, getting picked up to go to Georgia Tech. How was that? I mean, was it a powerhouse? How was Georgia Tech? Was it a big school? No, and I know it was a D1 school, but how was it?
At the time, I wasn't recruited heavily. I wasn't like you mentioned Elvis, who came before me. Elvis, back then you could go on as many trips as you want when you're being recruited. Seemed like Elvis was somewhere every weekend that we weren't playing or whatever off season or whatever. He was all over the place. I mean, from Oklahoma to Southern Cal to all over the place. And I didn't have that much of a following. I think I went to maybe 3 visits my year. I went to Tulane, Tech. Well, I went to Tech, but really the Tech trip wasn't an official visit because I had so many uncles up here. It was like I was visiting a family. I checked out Kentucky, and that was really it. I didn't. When everything cleared, the dust cleared, University of Miami offered me a scholarship right toward the end before the decision day and all, but I've still never been on UM's campus before.
Oh, okay. I have to bring something up to your attention. When you saying UM, Georgia Tech, did you mention Kentucky?
Yeah, I went there for one of my visits when I was being recruited.
Well, I mean, considering all these universities and all the athletes who played football didn't get any offers, these are some pretty big schools. These D1 schools.
Yeah.
When you look at some people play so hard and they don't even get any type of offers at all. And all the ones that was offering you was these D1 schools. So taking into that consideration, yes, it was they had eyes on you. So you obviously was performing well.
I got some pretty good offers, and back then, high school days, I was playing both ways. I was playing tight end and playing defensive end.
Okay.
So I had different people wanting me to play different things. I wasn't really known that well as a tight end. I played tight end exclusively my junior year. My senior year, I started at defensive end, and I switched off. Sometime they would put me on it was the opposite way. I was defensive end my junior year. The senior year was tight end, and they would play me at defensive end in spot situations and all. And I got second team. I think it was all county that year in the thing that I wasn't a starter at.
Okay, wow. So
But it's crazy how things work out. And when I got
yeah,
to Tech, the outside linebacker or defensive end coach, real technically they called it defensive end, even though it was the same type of defense that I played at the Falcons. It was they called theirs, we called ours a 3-4, a 5-2, whereas when I got to Atlanta they called it a 3-4, but it was basically the same position.
oh wow. Yeah. So how was that career at Georgia Tech? I see you representing.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, it started out pretty well. My freshman year, I did pretty decently. I was the outside linebacker, the defensive end coach told me that, hey, you can either go, try here at tight end, try at deep. He said, but defensive end, he said, but we're gonna keep you at one or the other. He said, I tell you this. He said, you can be one of the backups or whatever at defensive end. At that tight end, or you can come over here and switch off with the starters. And I think I chose pretty well. I said, that's a no-brainer there,
Yes.
Getting to actually play compared to maybe even dressing out. That wasn't a hard decision at all.
No, not at all. And so how was your career overall at Georgia Tech?
My career started out pretty well. Like I said, I was switching off with them, and then the last game of the year was when I tore my knee up and had reconstructive surgery on my left knee. And for the next 2 years, I basically was an undergraduate assistant coach with the scout team and all that.
So listening to you say that now, I'm knowing you as a Atlanta Falcon linebacker. How did you go from hurting yourself and actually getting into the league? I mean, you was hurt.
Well, when I got hurt, first of all, I wasn't supposed to be on the field my freshman year in that game. I had some problems with my shoulder, and they had taken me out of the game. And without talking with the coach, I actually put myself back in on the special teams for this particular part of the game, and went out there and got my knee torn up and shouldn't even been on the field. It's crazy how things happen.
Wow. And so, but you end up getting drafted.
I ended up getting drafted by the Falcons. I had no idea who was going to be interested in me because I don't even remember the Falcons even anybody talking to me that much. And back then it's different than it is now. Back then we had 12 rounds of draft.
Yeah,
it's not even close to that now.
So you had 12 rounds. Did you have an effective agent to talk to you or give you some, ideas of what's going on to communicate? Because you're talking about.
I had an agent, but as far as the communication and all that, not really. He was a one in signature as far as signing up with him. We really didn't interact that much.
He was about the money. Just get,
he had another signee that he could put on his profile. That was about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what round did you get drafted or picked up as a?
I was drafted in the 8th round, which was lucky for me because I was right here in town. I'd been here basically because I had planned on staying in Atlanta for the rest of my life. I didn't plan on going back to Miami, and I got up here because I had when I was a kid we used to do a lot of summer trips, summer vacations, and all, and I had 4 uncles on my dad's side that lived up here in Atlanta. And so it was like a second home to me anyway. So I had planned on living here anyway.
Okay. So you end up getting drafted 8th round. And so let's talk about that rookie season. I mean, man, you're talking about NFL, defensive rookie of the year?
Yeah, it was really weird because when I got to the Falcons, I had some problems with my back and all, and in camp I wasn't able to practice because I'd had this back problem, and the trainer, he worked with me and all, but he couldn't get me back out to practice and all because we had that 12-minute run where you had to show what kind of condition you were in, and I've never been a long distance person, and I ended up stepping in a hole or something other and messing up my back. And the trainer couldn't get me back on the field. And back then, Eddie LeBaron was a GM, and he suggested to our trainer that I go to a chiropractor. And of course, the trainer didn't like that idea. He called chiropractic, he called it witchcraft, you know. But after about a week or so of going to the trainer and all, I actually ended up back out on the field to practice and all, and turned out pretty well. The person that you know of that really helped me come along was Joel Williams. Joel, I hadn't known him in Miami, grew up in the same town that he grew up in, never knew him in high school. And if it wasn't for Joel, I don't think I would have done as well as I had. I know I wouldn't have done as well as I did my rookie year.
Well, speaking of Joel, how was that? Him going to North Miami, you going to Central, don't know each other, and now on the same NFL team playing the same position, one on the right, one on the left, and then one becoming your mentor. What a coincidence. You're talking about this close.
I'd never met Joel before until I got to the Falcons, never even really knew about him till I got up to camp up there. And I had as far as picking up the defense and all and really knowing it inside out, I didn't. And Joel was I guess you kind of say it was given the task. It probably was forced on him to make sure that every Friday night he went over the game plan with me, and I knew the game plan by game time and all. And that was the assurance for the position coach to make sure that he was confident that I knew what was going on and all. And Joel used to give up his Friday nights for me to make sure that I was ready for the games and all, which probably hurt his private, his personal life a little bit, because, you know, Joel is a guy, he likes to go get out and enjoy himself.
Yeah, but you are from home, you know, and, you know, you try to make sure home team is always taken care of, you know. Yep. You know. Oh, yeah. So y'all played together, man. That had to be an experience, and just reflecting back about, you know, your home team. And is that being able to play, and both of you guys living here in Atlanta right now, you know, how when we all happen to go out to dinner or just meet with each other, you know? Yeah. I mean, that's something to meet in your early 20s, and now here it is, you know, years later, and, you know, you be able to live your life and reflect back on these great experiences.
Yeah, Joel's a great friend. He's a great person. He's a person that puts the time in it. Used to have a great memory. Used to remember stuff that there's no way in the world I could pull it, you know, recall it myself, and about things about my personal life that he had experienced with me and all that I would never have even thought about, that he used to bring back and say, remember so and so and that? And I'd be like, no. He'd be like, what, you don't remember? I said, no. But that's the way Joel was.
Yeah. So listen, after playing in the league, you know, just while playing in the league, who was one of the most difficult players you had to tackle? You know,
I would guess George Rogers that ended up playing with. He didn't start with one of our rivals, but he ended up playing with our rivals, the Saints, and we used to have to meet him every year. He was a tough runner. He played at University of South Carolina and all.
Yeah, I remember him.
Very hard runner.
Yes, because he played for the Saints. Yeah. So he was a hard person to tackle.
George made you earn your money when you had to tackle George. You really did. Him, and of course the one that was on top of him, no matter what, was Sweetness. You know, Sweetness up at the Bears. That was it. You know. Yeah. Okay. And
Dickerson wasn't, you know, because he was big. Dickerson about 6'3", 6.
Dickerson, I didn't give him too much of an opportunity to tackle Dickerson. That boy was so fast, man.
Oh, yeah.
The way he ran that offense, I didn't get a whole lot. I don't remember tackling Dickerson a whole lot, tell you the truth.
Yeah, because he was something else, man.
Oh, yeah. It was like a track meet, man. It was more of a track meet when you had to play against Dickerson, because unless you caught him, it's kind of like the guy who plays for the Titans now.
Yes. That big dude. Yes.
If you didn't get him behind the line and stop his momentum, you were going to be in trouble. And that's the way Dickerson was. And we realized that what you have to do with Dickerson, because what they like to do was they would like to open you up on the side of your field. They wanted you to run out to protect the end, and then he would cut it up inside the line. And once he cleared the line, because of his speed, you weren't effective. So what we had to do, we had to slow him down and give him more obstacles before he got to the line. And so that's what you had to do with Dickerson. And if you let him get a crack, it was all over. That was everybody realized that, and that's the way the defense worked. If we wanted to make him go sideways, not straight up and down.
Mm-hmm. So when you did so well as a rookie, getting all those awards, after you finished your rookie contract, did any other team try to offer you anything, or did the Atlanta Falcons offer you a lucrative deal, or what?
When I got to the league, I was really damaged material, and my third year with the Falcons, I shattered my shoulder blade, and so I was damaged materials, and I didn't get a whole lot of interest, and the league was a lot different than it is now. You didn't see guys move around as much now, because back then the rules were different. Back then, once a team signed you, they had you, and you could sit around and rot because they had the rights to you. There was no free agency back then.
Okay.
So it was a whole different world.
Oh wow.
So you really once you went to a team, unless you did huge things and all, and other teams wanted you and wanted to negotiate a contract to bring you on a trade deal, you didn't see a whole lot of that like you do now. It was a nothing type of situation. You started with this team, you either did well with that team and you got traded or whatever, or you disappeared. That was basically what it was. You were either going to be a great player, if you were going to be an average player or a sub-average player, you could end up being lost in the woodwork.
Well, it's amazing that you was able to be in the league from getting injured as a freshman and then playing, basically not being able to play the last couple of years in college, then end up getting drafted in the 8th round with those injuries and still got a new contract even with the injuries, because you played 6 seasons, so you had 2 3-year contracts. So that's incredible and impressive to be able to play football with all those injuries.
I was definitely blessed. Like I said, that third year when I shattered that shoulder blade, I wasn't even close to being the same type of player. So for me to be able to get another contract,
yes, I was going to say, because they could have just threw you away, but it gave you another 3 years. So I know the pay had to increase. I know it didn't stay the same. So it probably
it increased. Yeah. It increased. I mean, it wasn't like a crazy increase, but then again, back then the money wasn't like it is now.
Yes. Oh, yes.
The money,
oh my God. So let me mention about the money. The money, when you imagine what they paid you guys, you and Joel back then, and then looking at what the practice squads are making right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because the practice squad is making a killing right now, and those were probably more than the salaries that they was making then. And now you're looking at the millions and millions of dollars per year, not even for a contract, but just per year. I mean, I just couldn't even imagine a player making $200 million. That was more than a whole 52-man roster.
Yeah, back when I was playing ball in college, when you came out of college, if you were a first-round pick, you were automatic millionaire. You don't have to be an automatic millionaire these days. You don't have to be a first-round pick to become a millionaire. And not even when you match dollar for dollar for back then and now, there's no comparison. There's just no comparison. And the league is so valuable now that it's just absolutely ridiculous. You got the quarterbacks making the money and making the big money, but then again, the quarterback is an important position on the team. But back then the quarterbacks that made the money, they weren't protected like they are now. And
Yes,
the protection it's important and all, but
it is.
they really got a glass bubble around them now, and you can't even cough on them hardly these days. It's ridiculous, but it's necessary, and you got to protect them because they are very, very vulnerable.
Yes, they are. And also, but again, got to try to just making sure it's fair for everybody because, got to find some measures to make sure everyone is protected.
Yeah. If I was,
end of the day,
I was a parent these days, I would be training my kid to be one of three things: either a soccer player, a quarterback, or a newscaster. One of the three, because
media,
especially in sports, it's just ridiculous. Yes. And most of the sportscasters that are out these days, not the color people, but most of the people that give explicit and all that are the people that make the big money way back in their career. You don't see the average Joe player, even though they're good, and necessarily make it a good opportunity to be a color man on shows and on football shows and all that now.
Yes, well, you're talking about after they didn't build their brand and reputation. A lot of times they bring them on as color commentators, and they're like, hey, you don't, because their face, they're familiar with. So the people are like, hey, we can bring them on. And what I'm seeing is a lot of the former NFLers, they make way more money in media than they made in their whole careers. And these are the ones who are pretty famous. Especially if they're not quarterbacks. Especially the quarterbacks still making the big money when they're going to be analysts and all that on their shows. But the people that a lot of people make more money than in the long run, or as much money as they did when they were playing. Because most of the people that are doing that these days were playing 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. So yeah, absolutely. I remember. What's the dude, the receiver for Chris Collinsworth? He played back in your days. I know he's making a killing. And also, speaking of that, you guys had a center. I think his name was Jamie Dukes.
Jamie Dukes, yes.
Yeah, he the NFL Network. So I guess he's because back then you guys didn't make a lot of money compared to what he's making now, but he's doing media now, so I know he's making a killing. Jamie's done pretty well. He's done very well for himself. Hard player, and he's got a lot of insight. Absolutely. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back, but we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break on station identification, and we'll be right back. Okay. All right.
Tune in and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?
of Social Theory with Dr. Brother Suave, with our very special guest, Falcons linebacker Al Richardson. Al, but when we was talking about all the money and everything, guys, they was making now, and it's definitely a big difference, and especially when they get more opportunities. But you see, even right now, you don't have to get in the NFL or even college to get these new deals they have for high school students and college students. I think now, a long time ago, you used to have to sometimes get that little envelope by the alumni but now you can, they paying them while they're playing, get a little stipend, and now they got an NIL deals, and they don't have to even rush to get to the pros. They can make money while they're in college.
Yeah. It's amazing the kind of money that, and then the internet has done a lot to help that situation out also. Yeah. But it used to be back in the day when we were growing up 30 years ago, where everybody knew that there was an alumnus, some kind of booster for the teams that was paying people, but it was kind of swept under the rug type of thing, because I've heard about players that might have ended up with a car. Matter of fact, I know about a player that ended up with a car and he changed the school that he was going to go to, but because they had given him the car already, they couldn't take it back. So he ended up with a car from a booster for another school, but he went to another school instead of them, and the schools weren't that far apart, geographically.
Yeah. So, I mean, the money they're making now, I mean, the kids can sit there. They don't even have to rush saying, well, the reason I'm going to the NFL is because I want to make money. Some of them, that could be a goal or a dream of theirs. But when that's not a dream and they only looking at money and they're happy at their college. Yeah.
There are people making money with the NIH thing right now that may make more money doing that than I did my whole NFL career.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know, dollar for dollar today isn't the same as a dollar back then and all, but still hand over fist, they're making, more. And it's just amazing that you don't have to go to the pros to get more type money. It's just, I'm not mad at them, but hey, I think I might've been born a few decades too early.
Yes. And sometimes some people just really love the sport and they just want to play, but they don't want to play that long, But anyway, so after
leaving investing, you can get away with that. But most of the young people these days don't look forward to the investing. They like to, they like to show off with it and all that.
Well, again, we have to take into consideration things are different. You're talking about making $1 million and being the NFL best, making $1 million versus being the NFL 20th, 200th best, and you'd have made $200 million. Mm-hmm. You don't, the money that you're making is, you don't have to invest like you guys then, because their pension or the percentage of what they're getting from that is going to last them 3 lifetimes.
Yeah, especially if you've got a parent or somebody that you entrust that's going to put those dollars, invest those dollars wisely for you.
Even if
really watch over you,
even if it didn't invest it, because you're talking about their retirement. Let's say they play 9 years in the NFL. Their first contract was $80 million, Then they did another contract worth $100 million, then another contract worth $40 million. They played, they'd invest, they'd made the deadline, to make those years. They don't, and what they're getting every month for the rest of their life, what's the point of even stressing themselves out about investing?
Well, if you can do that, get away with it, walk away with $80 to $100 million and never really.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a whole different mentality. Because I think about, and just making it personal. It's like when I look at my career, and then retire and stuff like that, I'm going to get this money till the day I die. So to the day I die, it's going to come. And let's say I use every single penny every month. It's going to come the next month to the rest, So just those kind of money they make and what kind of money they're getting to every day to the day they die. They really don't really have to be mindful of investing when they'll be okay. It's just so different, We so used to saying that, but they'll be okay.
Yeah, the money comes easier these days than it did back then.
Yes, exactly.
Most definitely.
And then some of the people who fought for you guys to get these things that they didn't give you guys. Same thing with some people in the military. They didn't give them a chance to let them know about rights they have. Now they have them, and so they've secured.
But that's the way life is for the most part. The people that come before you usually are the ones that you stand. You stand on their sometimes on their backs instead of on their shoulders.
Exactly.
Where you are because they sacrifice for you. But that's in general. That's what life is. The way life is.
Yes, unfortunately. So after leaving the league, what did you find yourself getting into?
When I left the league, I had 2 or 3 different kind of jobs. I started back at as soon as I left the league, I ended up working in law enforcement. Worked for the sheriff department in DeKalb County for a couple of years. Then I got smart and went back to school to try to finish my degree up. Did that and got into janitorial management and did pretty well doing that.
Okay. Oh man! So it was a challenge. It wasn't that much of a challenge in transitioning. He was ready.
Well, I was taught when I was young. Taught to be a hard worker and all that. So that wasn't that hard to me. It definitely took an adjustment from playing football all my life, and even though the money wasn't great, it was a lot easier to go out and play football and all that. And not have to really do a real job. So it was an eye opener once I left the league.
Yeah.
If it was nowadays, nowadays you can take a year or 2 off after you come out of the league because of the money they make and do pretty well. You don't have to even have a job, but so is life.
It's a question I'm gonna ask you that I often ask people. Now, professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever consider professional wrestling? Because they made a lot of money. A lot of ex-football players got into professional wrestling, and they made a lot of money.
That didn't enter my mind just because of my knee. If I was a player when I came in the league, if I was a player that was whole and never had the operation, I would have been a lot more aggressive player than I was. I had some aggression to me the way it was, but I would have been a whole lot more aggressive, especially when it comes down to attacking offensive linemen that were trying to block me. Because of that knee and that thing in the back of my mind saying I'm not whole, I think that affected my play a bit. And to a certain degree, I played kind of protective,
Okay. So when you got into law enforcement, how was that? How was that experience?
Law enforcement was all right. It was pretty much a regular job to me, but I didn't in law enforcement. I actually worked in the jail division. I never was on the streets and that type of thing. So I wasn't in an arrest situation where I arrested people and that type of thing. I did make deputy. And I was there. I think I was deputy there for about a year before I left.
Oh, so you didn't stay long?
No. I only did about 2 years there.
Oh, okay. You could have got a nice little retirement, man.
Not from that. Not that 2 years won't get you much.
I'm saying if you would have did, some years.
If I had, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to do with just, a good 20-some years. You would have got a nice little retirement.
Yeah, from the county, I would have done pretty well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once you did the law enforcement, you went back and got your degree. So what did you do after then? You just
when I went back to school, I ended up getting talking to some people and started getting into janitorial management, and ended up doing that for managing janitorial contracts for about 15 years or so.
Yes, that's
Did
big
pretty
time
well
there.
in it, and it didn't work out as well as I wanted to in the long run. But it was a job where I didn't have to put in too much physically. My biggest thing I had to do when I was working janitorial, I did have working with a contract out at the airport. I had to do a whole lot of walking around the airport. In the long run, that was good for me because it helped me stay in shape.
Yes, I can imagine all that moving around. Did you run across your old North Miami Pioneer after you retired?
Joel and I, we stayed in contact anyway. So I mean, we take vacations together sometime out with our wives and have dinners and all that. So we've stayed in contact pretty well.
That's nice. Any other Atlanta Falcon teammates that you stayed in contact with?
Not really. Joel's about the only one, and I don't know if it was a Miami thing and all, but we've always gotten along well, and we just stayed in contact with each other.
Yes, that's nice. That's nice to hear. So after playing, you did this career about 15 years. You end up retired. So any health issues that you see, or anything? Do you see any memory issues you have, or any chronic illnesses as a result of the wear and tear on your body from the NFL?
Well, me personally, you're gonna have your stiffness and all that over time, but luckily, I stayed pretty active as far as working out. I used to work out 3-4 times a week, and I stayed pretty active in that type of thing. I was never a runner, so the closest I came to running was getting on a bicycle and riding on bicycles and that type of thing. So I've never been a runner, but the little basic workouts, and it's all about. I found out it's all about just staying active. If you stay active, for the most part, you do all right. And sometimes I have trouble getting up, but you always have regrets, but I think I've done pretty well.
Oh, okay. Well, man, shucks. I don't know. You told me you seem like you seem like you like freaking into bodybuilding, man. You got muscles everywhere. Y'all don't know, man, but seeing this dude, he reminds me of I forgot the actor name, who real muscular. But man, you seem like you work out every day, like shredded. Because I'm just impressed on how it looks like you work out every day. Do you?
There were weeks sometime I would work out 4 or 5 times a week and all that, but my workouts weren't extensive. I had a short program that I would do. I would do my anaerobic stuff after I did my aerobic stuff, but my aerobic stuff only basically either consisted of walking on a treadmill or riding on a stationary bike. That was about it. But I've been blessed with athletic type body and all that, and all I had to do was just maintain it, and it's worked out pretty well for me. Even the knee, I've never, ever since I tore that knee up, I've never been able to lock my knee out, but it's held up pretty well for me over all this time.
Yes. Well, you definitely stayed in shape. Yeah, man. So listen, I want to ask you, so life after football, so after you didn't have really any serious, significant health issues, did you see any issues with memory? Because, I mean, your memory seems to be sharp, so you really don't seem to have any of these issues. That's the blessing.
I have times when I can't, my recall is not as good as I would like it to be. But I've seen other people that I played with have some memory issues, but my memory is pretty decent, and my wife helps as far as my diet and all that. She does pretty well keeping me healthy just by what she allows me to eat. Sometimes she lets me splurge, but I've kept my weight down and all that, and she's helped me with that.
Yes. Well, man, it was an honor. I was appreciating you joining us today, man, and just telling us about your journey, your experience, man. It's a wonderful thing, man. I'm glad you got out the game. You're healthy, memories on point. You're enjoying your life, man. Anything you have any recommendations for any people play in the league? And I'm talking about right now, what kind of things you recommend them to do once they get out of the league?
What a lot of people don't do that I've found out they don't do, they don't stay active. We have a tendency to you play all those years, you can eat what you want and not have to worry about it. But you can't do that once you get out of the league. If you don't stay active, you're gonna have to check your diet. You're gonna have to really watch what you put in your mouth, you know. And a lot of people don't do that, and it's very important.
Yes, it definitely, because that's our wealth part right there. Our health is our wealth. So, after going through so much, injuries and trauma to the body, got to make sure you take care of that body.
Yeah, you definitely got to take care of your body. Players these days, they do a lot. They have a lot more flexibility as far as what they do after they play because of the kind of salaries they make. So it's easier for them to maintain and get good treatment and all that. I would be more concerned about the players that played 20, 30 years ago as compared to some of the players that are playing now that maybe have, such as a Brady, Brady, and he's not a good example because he was quarterback and he was making the big money and all that.
But I heard he had a very strict diet, so I heard he took care of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why they said he lasted so long.
Yeah. You gotta watch your diet, and when you're playing, you can get away with a lot more than you can after you finish playing, unless you stay active. You gotta stay active. If you don't, you'll definitely feel it. When you wake up in the morning. Absolutely. Most definitely. But I've been lucky, and hopefully people will heed a couple of things that I've thrown out there for them to know. I mean, you got to stay active. You got to stay active. Even if you don't change your diet, you got to stay active.
And one of the things, what would you recommend? Like, we know that the NFL has a new concussion protocol, but what would you recommend? Try to avoid as many concussions as you can, because there's a lot of, it's like techniques on how to tackle, techniques on hitting, because a lot of the concussions come from that. Hitting the ground.
A lot of things. One of the major things I see from players, especially defensive backs, your cornerbacks, is when they don't teach you to tackle as much as they do when I was playing, but a lot of the players will drop their head instead of keeping their head up. And they used to, the slogan that they used to tell us was, you got to see what you're hitting. If you can't see what you're hitting, then the form is wrong, and you can get actually you could end up paralyzed. And a couple of players that's happened to them during our career. Matter of fact, one of the players down when we were growing up, Wanakani's son, when we were growing up in Miami, he got injured because he got a neck injury and all, and had his head down when he tried to make a tackle. And I think that's the biggest thing is form. People think that they all want the big hit and that type of thing, but there's a technique in it all. And a lot of players think once they get to what they're tackling that the job is over, and it's not. They haven't been truly trained right to tackle properly.
Yeah. I don't know if it's off subject, but one of the players that I know and happened to be one of my favorite players was Jack Tatum. I mean, he was always known for hitting, but I remember when he died, I think he died of cancer, but he was always sharp mentally, and he seemed to not have any concussions or any aftermath of that concussions. That was odd because he was known for hitting.
Yeah. And it's all in
But I guess
technique.
how he hit the shoulders, I guess, instead of his head.
Yeah, yep. If you can get away with that, but for the most part, if you don't hold your head up when you're hitting somebody, when you're tackling, whether you're using your head to tackle them or your shoulder, if you don't have that your head and your spine in line, you're very susceptible to injuring yourself anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't help your posture when you're in different situations as far as tackling, but if you consistently try to tackle properly, for the most part you'll make it through. But you got a lot of people that they think it's about a big hit and all that. It's got to be hitting through what you're tackling. It's got to be keeping your motion proper as far as running through your point of contact, because a lot of people, when they make the hit, they all they're doing is they want the hit. They don't want the actual tackle. And a lot of them don't use their arms to hold on to what they're hitting.
Yeah,
No
wrap
around
around.
get you into trouble.
Yes. Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Thank you for that insight. Just want to tell you, appreciate you for coming on tonight as we close out our series, Life After the Gridiron. Man, it was an honor. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Suave. My pleasure. Anytime.
So, listen, as we close out this second year of this series, man, we just want to tell you guys thank you for our guests that we had this season. And just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you. I mean it. Bye-bye.
Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. So it is so many benefits to being proactive. I remember during the recession, I would hear people saying, listen, I need a job. And they wouldn't hire people who need it. And they hired a person who had a job and they applied for another job as opposed to I don't have a job. And
that's time to look for a job is when you already have one.
Yes. And again, Brother Frederick was saying this, I try not to get so caught up on religious philosophy and how spiritual are, but a foundation is so important because it gives you some moral values, no matter if you're Muslim, a Catholic, a Jehovah's Witness, or a Christian, or a Baptist, or whatever. You have to have respect. You can't do that. You can't do that stuff. And so we teach them emotional intelligence, teach them how to think about things before they react. Can't be impulsive. These are some of the learned behaviors as you listen. Just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you. I mean it. Bye-bye.
We're shining bright. And we're shining the light on us like no other. Neighborhood Planet. Our neighborhood, our world. Programs like this are made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, iBlister Digital Media Creative, and from contributions to NPN TV from viewers like you. Thank you.